Hello and welcome back to Tech Day's 10-minute IT Jams. We're back with SYSPRO, a global enterprise resource planning and business integration tools provider that specialises in the manufacturing and distribution sectors. Today we're here with SYSPRO CFO and CRO, Sanjay Khalil. Welcome, Sanjay.
Hi, thanks, Sarah. Good to be here.
All right, so firstly, can you explain a little bit about what SYSPRO offers and how it helps manufacturing CFOs?
Sure. So SYSPRO offers a fully blown enterprise resource planning system. This allows for basically any other integrated products to cotton onto it, and it serves mainly the manufacturing sector. From a CFO perspective, obviously in the manufacturing sector, again, margin management, costs, inventory, input costs, all of those key items are prevalent to us. So the system basically takes all of the above, wraps around the systems, cottoned onto the ERP as the backbone, as I mentioned, and basically gives me the visibility so that I can make better decisions for the business.
Excellent. So how can today's manufacturing financial leaders adapt to really face an unprecedented future to ensure that there is lasting profitable change?
So that's an interesting one. I think, Sarah, the CFO role has evolved and changed already. I think it's just evolving at a more rapid pace as we go. And I think the way it's changed is now we wear multiple hats instead of looking at finance alone. And this is where I think we are going to have to up our skill sets, up our games to add true value to the business going forward. Already we're becoming the true 2ICs to the business. And effectively, all decisions we make impact profitability. So just an example of that, of an involvement of the modern or CFO 4.0 would be getting involved in the product lines with that production lead from inception all the way through to fulfillment for customers. And that just will bring the benefits and adds tremendous value to the business in terms of profitability currently and going forward.
Perfect. So let's talk about Australian manufacturing and distribution businesses. How has technology kept them on course?
So it's been interesting. Obviously, the pandemic in the last 2 years has actually accelerated and forced change across the sectors, not only in Australia, but globally. So a lot of our manufacturing and distribution businesses have adopted investment into smart technologies, etc. And effectively, an example of this would be integrating the ordering and fulfillment delivery cycle with your customers again, in order to eliminate a number of manual steps. So in essence, what we've seen is the technology to automate and optimize has brought great benefits to, firstly, the business themselves, but more importantly, to all their customers or end users. So in essence, again, or to summarize, the adoption basically creates happiness or a more contentment with your customers, enabling a greater order book going forward, and effectively giving you a foundation to attract more prospects and customers.
Okay, so APAC manufacturing CFOs cite some quite major concerns compared to global counterparts when it comes to rising inventory prices and disruptions to supply chains. So why do supply chain headaches like the procurement of raw materials and the inventory, why do they remain the leading business disruptor in this sector?
Okay, so in manufacturing, obviously aspects such as inventory holding, warehousing, margin management, input costs, and ultimately profitability are your key drivers. So these headaches basically result in the erosion of these key factors. And it's critical, I think, in terms of manufacturers, to keep in mind that when it comes to innovation, adopting new technology, etc., ultimately it impacts the bottom line. So those two that you mentioned are critical in terms of man management, in order to ensure that it doesn't erode away margin and profitability at the end of the day.
So your research says that top business priorities for APAC manufacturing CFOs are things like protecting margins, managing cash flow, and increasing visibility. Do you think that APAC manufacturing CFOs are too risk averse compared to global counterparts when it comes to investing in innovation like Industry 4.0 and smart technologies?
So that's an interesting one, Sarah. I mean, if you look at the pandemic and when it first arose, obviously APAC and Australasia specifically were effectively hit first in terms of realizing the impacts or being affected. So I don't think that local Australasian manufacturers have been sort of conservative in their ways. I think the countries like the US and the UK have actually accelerated their spend adopting automated technology quicker because they've had that reach. But for us here locally, I think the focus has been basically to get through the pandemic, to protect cash, and then to navigate ourselves through the situation more than ever. So I think to summarize and answer that is basically it's just a timing difference. I think the adoption will follow the US and UK counterparts as our research points to. But I think that will again go back to what we discussed earlier, the increased visibility in order to make critical decisions for the business. So I think just to finish off, I mean, it's the old saying goes, never waste a good crisis. And I think it's more appropriate than ever now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for talking to us. That was SYSPRO CFO and CRO, Sanjay Khalil. Thanks so much for talking to us, Sanjay.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.